The recent announcement about AOL discontinuing its dial-up internet service strikes a chord on multiple levels. Firstly, it evokes the nostalgic sounds of a modem attempting to connect to the vast digital world. And secondly, it makes one ponder the improbability of dial-up still being in use today. It begs the question, who, in this day and age, is still relying on such an outdated technology? AOL has set September 30th of this year as the official end date for its dial-up service, allowing its users a window to transition to more modern alternatives. This implies that there are indeed individuals who continue to utilize dial-up connections. Personally, it has been over 25 years since I abandoned my dial-up modem, and I can only imagine that today, such a slow connection would only suffice for sending plain text messages. While one might suggest it could still be used to access news websites, those platforms have evolved to be so intricate and data-heavy that a 56K baud modem simply cannot keep pace. Reflecting on the phasing out of this seemingly obsolete service provokes a variety of thoughts regarding our rapid technological evolution. In our audio landscape, once upon a time, vinyl records reigned supreme, only to be succeeded by 8-track tapes, cassettes, and CDs. Culminating in the age of MP3 players and streaming services that provide on-demand access to music. A parallel transformation has occurred in the realm of digital Bible study. In earlier days, engaging with Scripture involved purchasing Bible software and installing it on your machine. Over time, dedicated Bible websites emerged, followed by comprehensive and pricey software like Logos and the White Estate CD-ROMs. If you take a moment to reflect on how you've explored digital biblical resources over the years, you might notice an intriguing trend. Few, if any, individuals still keep physical concordances nearby, as their necessity has diminished significantly. Embracing technological advancements has largely enhanced my experience. I've leveraged it fully, from being initially reluctant to move on from my reliable typewriter to quickly realizing that using a computer dramatically lessens the time spent on sermon preparation. I took my wife's advice and found myself engrossed in the convenience it offered. However, there lies a significant drawback to our increasing dependence on technology. The more we rely on it, the less we engage our own cognitive abilities. Think about your smartphone's GPS. In the past, navigating through a new city required the skill of reading and interpreting a map. You needed to commit the route to memory. Upon arriving at your destination, you might have relied on that same map to guide your return. Nowadays, with GPS directing us effortlessly, many of us wouldn't be able to recount how we managed to reach a particular place without assistance. Similarly, memorization of phone numbers has become a fading art. Years ago, it was common to memorize important contacts or keep a notepad nearby. Now, with a contact list at our fingertips, few take the time to remember numbers. I confess, I no longer know my daughter's phone numbers by heart. I simply tap their names to reach them. The mental faculties once required have become almost obsolete. An intriguing observation, though not necessarily alarming. Some scholars argue that a comparable phenomenon occurred with the spread of literacy. In ancient times, the assertion is that humanity relied heavily on memory to retain significant stories and teachings passed down through generations by oral tradition, often facilitated by a bard or storyteller. With the advent of written records, our reliance on memory has lessened, potentially weakening our capabilities in terms of recall and memorization. Examining the scriptures, we discover that they were originally recorded on scrolls, particularly during the Old Testament era. The New Testament Church transitioned to codices, the book format with which we are now familiar. Lacking chapter and verse divides, one had to be intimately familiar with each book of the Bible to locate previously studied sections. As a younger believer, I would highlight pivotal passages, making it easier to refer back to them. In the present day, however, even a single keyword from a verse can facilitate an efficient online search. Yet the ease of marking numerous passages hasn't necessarily translated to greater memorability, certainly not in the same way it did on physical pages. While I don't mean to invoke panic, the overarching theme of biblical prophecy is one of hope, Consider this hypothetical scenario. What if a high-altitude nuclear explosion triggers an electromagnetic pulse, wiping out all electronic devices? This isn't limited to human-made catastrophes. A historical event known as the Carrington Event in 1859 caused significant damage to telegraph systems due to a massive solar flare. Such incidents serve as a reminder, and for those of you like me who still have a physical copy of the Bible at home, a return to its pages post-crisis might feel somewhat foreign after years of digital access. The pertinent question becomes, how well do you really know the Bible? In a scenario where technology fails, would you be able to locate those cherished scripture passages that resonate with you? If you were facilitating a Bible study, could you swiftly recall the key texts? Let me clarify. I don't scorn the practice of digital Bible study. On most Sabbaths, I carry an iPad to church, which grants me instant access to valuable research tools. I utilize it to deepen my understanding of the sermon topics and occasionally to fact-check concepts that may seem dubious. I truly appreciate how technology has streamlined my study efforts. Yet, it leads me to question whether my familiarity with the text has waned compared to days gone by. Here's a thought. Christian children used to be taught to memorize the books of the Bible in order so they could locate them easily. Now, with a quick search on your phone, just typing in a few letters can bring up Obadiah. Try flipping through a physical Bible to find the same passage. You might find yourself paging back and forth more than expected. Some readers might argue that I'm merely clinging to the past, and perhaps that observation holds some truth. However, this isn't only a matter of losing the art of cursive writing or mastering the timing of an analog clock. While sundials may seem irrelevant in today's world, much of my childhood has seen obsolete skills become unnecessary. That said, I'm convinced we're becoming overly reliant on technology, potentially to our detriment. Another example springs to mind. Food preservation. When I was growing up, my parents dedicated countless hours every summer to canning and freezing produce from our garden. This meticulous preparation ensured we had enough sustenance throughout the winter months. Fast forward to today, and many individuals no longer see this as necessary. Affordable canned and frozen options are readily available at grocery stores. Yet, when the COVID-19 pandemic struck, supply chains were disrupted unexpectedly. I vividly remember walking into a grocery store one day to find the produce section bare, except for a single packet of yellow onions, reminiscent of images from the 1970s, showcasing poorly stocked Soviet stores. Fortunately, these shortages lasted only a few weeks, but had they persisted for a longer duration, how many of us would have had the skills to cultivate and preserve our own food? What have we relinquished in our pursuit of advancement? Once again, let me emphasize, I wholeheartedly welcome the notion of progress. I cherish the simplification of tasks that once required arduous effort during my childhood. I am genuinely grateful for high-speed internet and the absence of the nostalgic trials of dial-up. Beyond that, I eagerly anticipate the innovations that lie ahead, despite the ongoing debates about AI and its implications. At the same time, I recognize that each of us learns in distinct ways. For instance, while my wife easily absorbs information through audiobooks, I find my attention drifting without the printed word. We all have different methods of learning. Some are auditory, others visual, and some even learn best through physical activity. My intention isn't to undermine your learning style. Rather, I want to bring awareness to what we might be losing and to ponder its potential impact on those quiet moments I spend with God each morning. After all, God is a personal presence. Engaging in a relationship with Him is not as simple as querying an online search engine. Much like building a marriage requires more than text messages, cultivating a relationship with God necessitates your presence and attention. Open my eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of your law. Psalm 119:18, ESV.